confirmed that there was indeed a woman who was with the shooter in the footage that was captured by the houses nearby the area. And for whatever reason, the FBI has not yet released or even acknowledged that that footage exists. I just want to say that I feel like at the beginning of this investigation, I was very clear. I said there will be no fakeness and there will be no gayness in this investigation. And apparently there were some people who did not take me seriously or literally, because there are a lot of little lies being told, right? Charlie gets assassinated and the very people who were threatening him reputationally and financially are now trying to memorialize.
Charlie's message hit the group chat like a bomb. Just lost another big Jewish donor. $2 million a year, because we won't silence Tucker. I'm thinking about bringing Candace in. Within seconds, the thread ignited. Someone fired back. Candace Owens just dropped what she's calling undeniable proof. And then it happened. Social media didn't just react, it detonated. Comment sections erupted, timelines froze, and hashtags stormed the top of the charts. Everyone wanted to know why Candace, of all people, had just cracked open something that wasn't supposed to be touched. But what shook people wasn't what she said. It was where the fire started. Candace claimed the storm wasn't coming from critics outside the walls, but from the very core of Turning Point USA. She alleged that people close to the inner circle had been working overtime to bury the truth behind Charlie Kirk's abrupt, shadow-draped departure. For weeks, their silence had felt rehearsed. The vague statements, the cryptic signals, it all now looked like a carefully staged illusion collapsing in real time. Then she struck. Candace dropped screenshots she insisted were real, allegedly leaked straight from the organization's internal chat. And there, clear as daylight, was Charlie's name. In the viral exchange, Charlie's message was blunt. We just lost another major sponsor, $2 million a year, because we won't cancel Tucker. He followed it with something even heavier. Some of these sponsors will twist anything to push their power. I won't play along. Every message was another jagged piece of a puzzle, power, money, loyalty, and faith clashing behind closed doors. And then came the line that would burn through the internet. Jewish donors are feeding every stereotype. I will not be bullied. I'm stepping away from the pro-Israel pause. Moments later, he mused about inviting Candace. The second those screenshots hit the web, everything fractured. If the messages were real, the entire narrative wasn't just shifting, it was detonating. This wasn't some political disagreement anymore. This looked like a man choosing to stand alone against a storm tied to faith, money, and unspoken alliances. Candace teased that the web of ties was darker and more tangled than anyone outside could imagine. Social feeds turned into battlegrounds. Questions spread like wildfire. Had Charlie just crossed a line no one was meant to cross? One of the alleged chat messages read, "Our sponsors are banking on us, but I will not be silenced." If authentic, it painted a portrait of a man cornered, squeezed by powerful backers, loyalists, and an entire system built on silence. And yet, in that corner, he didn't bend. Candace didn't ask permission to join the fight. She stormed straight into it, cool and calculated, like she was born for these moments. Her voice carried the kind of certainty that makes the world stop scrolling. Inside the group, another familiar figure, Sedona, allegedly wrote, "Do not invite Candace. It might give us a short-term win, but it'll destroy us in the long run." But the damage was already done. The moment the conversation hit the mainstream, chaos cracked open like thunder. Voices clashed, opinions collided. One post rose above the noise. Free will is a dangerous gift. It complicates everything. But as the dust began to settle, one figure still stood dead center in the spotlight, Candace Owens. Calm, unyielding, holding what she called the truth. She wasn't just stirring the pot, she was rewriting the entire narrative. And then she said it softly, like a match struck in silence. "I have the receipts." Those 4 words shattered the internet's calm. Timelines froze. Comment sections caught fire. She dropped a name, Josh Hammer. People scrambled to search, fingers flying. When they discovered he was a Newsweek editor, the energy shifted. The room went cold. Suspicion settled like fog. Candace didn't yell. She didn't need to. She spoke with the kind of quiet that cuts sharper than a blade. She hinted that powerful donors had clashed behind closed doors that same night, the kind of clash that changes everything. And then came the bombshell, a secret Hamptons gathering, small but dangerous, just weeks before the tragedy. 48 hours before Charlie Kirk died, he was reportedly clear-eyed, defiant, and immovable. Candace suggested that the story told publicly about that night didn't match what really happened inside that Hamptons room. She refused to name the 7 people who were there, and then, with a razor-sharp half-smile, added, "Actually, let's throw Josh Hammer in for fun." He was in the group chat. That single line set the internet ablaze. Threads exploded as users dragged up interviews, old posts, anything that could stitch together the puzzle. Then, as the storm reached its peak, commentator James Lee lobbed a single question that sliced through the noise. Why hasn't Charlie's wife spoken publicly or demanded answers? That question split the digital world down the middle. One camp urged patience, the others smelled a cover-up. A familiar name, Sedona, dropped a message that spread like wildfire. Please don't invite Candace. It might feel right in the moment, but it won't last. The divide was no longer just a crack, it was a canyon. And then came a whisper that turned into a roar. The hidden report. Allegedly, a full investigation existed, but no one outside the authorities had ever laid eyes on it. The story that was supposed to be over suddenly grew teeth. People demanded answers. If nothing's wrong, why keep it locked away? One viral comment asked. And then, the magic bullet. Gossip claimed that the bullet had stopped inches from Charlie's spine. No entry wound. No ricochet. No logical explanation. It was the kind of bizarre detail you'd expect from a sci-fi thriller, not real life. That single anomaly sent conspiracy threads spinning out of control. Theories multiplied like wildfire. Some clung to the official line. Others whispered that the puzzle didn't add up. And one viral comment echoed across the chaos. Keep digging. You're not at the end of the story. You're standing at the beginning of a new chapter. Doubt hung thick in the air like smoke that refused to clear. Whispers collided with theories, and the silence around Candace Owens only made her voice sound louder, sharper, more dangerous. She wasn't just part of the story anymore. She was the storm. One host put it bluntly, she's got more guts than most politicians combined. Even her harshest critics couldn't argue. While Turning Point USA stayed eerily quiet, Candace refused to let the questions die. Why is she the only one asking what no one else dares to say? The echo of that question rolled through comment sections like a heartbeat. She claimed the clock started ticking exactly 48 hours before Utah. According to her, Charlie Kirk had been steady, unwavering, as if bracing for something no one else saw coming. And then, with her trademark smirk, she whispered a name, Josh Hammer. Instantly, the web convulsed. Kurt, another commentator, caught the wave. Every time Candace speaks, the bots swarm. They scream. But where's their proof? He said, half laughing, half challenging. They've got noise, no evidence. This time, though, the noise won't bury the truth. Then came the screenshots. If they were real, they showed Charlie messaging about backing away from certain alliances just 2 days before everything exploded in Utah. That tiny detail detonated like dynamite online. It wasn't political anymore. It was personal. Heavy. Like watching someone stand at a crossroads while the ground cracked beneath their feet. Candace combed through every line like a prosecutor on a mission. Some called her reckless. Others couldn't stop watching. Then a host dropped the question that stunned the entire room. We really believe some random guy in gym shorts did all this alone? The air went dead. No one dared breathe. He leaned forward, voice dropping. Are we supposed to buy that someone crept in, changed clothes, climbed a roof, set up everything, and executed a flawless plan unseen? The shock wasn't loud. It was quiet, bone deep. And then, the leaked line. Just lost another big sponsor, $2 million a year. All because we wouldn't drop Tucker. Thinking of inviting CI. I won't be forced like this. The moment that message went viral, the internet flatlined. People stared, stunned, at the image of a man trapped beneath crushing pressure. The host dissected every word, steady voice, eyes narrowing. "Does that story even sound real to you?" he finally asked. The question hung there like a noose. No one had an answer. Threads began to spiral. Timelines, faces, footage, everything started to bleed together. How could an ordinary man pull off something so surgically perfect? Then came another shot. "Why hasn't Erica released the full report?" the host asked. She could clear everything, but she stays silent. That silence was the accelerant. In a digital world built on transparency, secrecy is gasoline. Conspiracies multiplied like wildfire. Some joked that the official narrative sounded like a Hollywood script, too polished to be real. Others whispered that the truth had been twisted from the start. The puzzle grew darker. Every timestamp, every clip, every leak felt like fragments of something bigger. And then the studio fell silent again. The host delivered the line like a blade sliding between ribs. "The evidence doesn't match the story." That was it. The point of no return. People began to connect dots no one wanted connected. 48 hours before the Utah speech, witnesses described Charlie as distant, not broken, just carrying something heavy. His last smiles weren't joyful, they were calculated. Hollow. Then came the unseen footage. A rooftop camera reportedly captured movement seconds before the chaos, but that video was buried. All that remains are shaky cell clips that don't align with the official timeline. In one clip, the crowd looks in two directions at once. Impossible. Witnesses whispered about men in plain clothes, not police, not security, walking out moments before everything imploded. And still, the sealed report sits in the dark. Completed within 48 hours, locked away like a secret the world isn't meant to touch. And the question that chills everyone remains, why seal something that's supposedly so simple? Because maybe it isn't simple at all. The fire hasn't died down, it's only grown hotter. While everyone else falls silent, Candace Owens refuses to back away. She's connecting dots no one wants connected, ripping open wounds no one wants reopened, and asking the kind of questions that make powerful people uncomfortable. Love her or hate her, she's the last voice still echoing in a room that's gone quiet. Then came Erica Kirk. At first, the public leaned in with sympathy. A grieving widow, trying to stand tall, that's how the story was framed. But everything shifted the moment she stepped in front of a camera just 3 days after Charlie Kirk's sudden death. Perfect hair, controlled lighting, a script-smooth delivery, no cracks, no trembling hands, no tears. It didn't feel raw, it felt rehearsed. She promised to carry the mission forward, to honor his legacy. But no one was listening to her words anymore. They were studying how she said them. Ice calm, composed, calculating. While thousands were still lighting candles, Erica was already back at Turning Point's headquarters, restructuring, reallocating, rebuilding like someone who'd been planning this moment. To some, she looked like strength personified. To others, she looked cold. Too cold. And then, like a ghost from the past, the Hamptons meeting crept back into the conversation, a night Candace described as the point where everything changed. Insiders whispered of power brokers and donors locked in a battle that could shift entire alliances. Soon after, a campaign emerged, perfectly timed, painting Candace as unstable, dangerous, a liability. The timing was suspiciously perfect. Then came the silence. Turning Point's website quietly erased Charlie's unfinished audit. Internal memos about missing funds reportedly vanished. No one confirmed it, no one denied it. But whispers of "don't ask, don't tell" swept through the ranks like a draft of cold wind. One journalist even revealed an anonymous text, "You're looking where you shouldn't be." No names, no threats. Just enough to freeze your blood. The internet split in two. One camp clung to coincidence. The other smelled smoke and fire. And the second group is growing, digging into flight logs, donation trails, and security feeds, building timelines piece by piece. Yet, the deeper they dig, the stranger it gets. Missing clips, misaligned timestamps, inconsistent testimony. Candace isn't blinking. She's calling out Erica, the donors, and the invisible hands behind the curtain. Her viral post landed like a punch. You don't silence a man like Charlie unless he's about to say something no one wants to hear. And suddenly, the floodgates burst open again. Threads dissected every frame. What once looked like a personal tragedy now cast a massive shadow. What if this isn't just grief? What if it's a doorway to something much bigger? James Lee asked the question everyone was too scared to ask. Why is Candace the only one digging? Where's the press? Where are the so-called truth seekers? His voice cut through the noise like a blade. This silence wasn't natural. It was constructed. Someone somewhere wanted this story buried. And yet, it wouldn't die. Because the more they ignored it, the louder it grew. Then came the moment that froze the room. The host whispered, maybe silence isn't peace. Maybe it's fear. The words landed heavy. Because sometimes, fear isn't weakness. It's survival. The air in the studio shifted. You could almost hear the collective heartbeat. And then, almost like a pressure valve, the host swerved topics from fear to microplastics, from corruption to toxins. He spoke about invisible particles seeping into our bodies, into everything we consume. It's everywhere, he said. And in that moment, it didn't feel like a tangent. It felt like a metaphor. Corruption and power are just like those particles, invisible, unstoppable, quietly suffocating everything. By the time the show ended, it didn't feel like a broadcast. It felt like a mirror held up to a world where silence is currency, power is poison, and truth is the first casualty. And in that darkness, one voice still refuses to go quiet. Candace Owens. Because if even a fraction of what she's saying is real, this isn't just a scandal. It's a warning. What do you think? Is she exposing a hidden network, or has she become part of it? Comment below, like, share, and subscribe. Because this story isn't over yet.